The godfather of the pro-life movement, Joe Scheidler, died on Martin Luther King Day at the age of 93.
Do something pro-life every day. If it's a prayer, if it's going to a clinic, if it is talking to another person about abortion, do something pro-life every day.
That was a 2017 interview with Scheidler. He was the founder of the Pro-Life Action League and is credited for developing pro-life activism following the 1973 Roe v. Wade Supreme Court ruling. Scheidler died of pneumonia at his Chicago home last week. Joining us now on Skype is Eric Scheidler, Executive Director of Pro-Life Action League and Joe Scheidler's son, his oldest child. Eric, welcome to the show, and please be assured of our prayers and condolences at this time. Eric, first, can you just share some words honoring your father's life and legacy in the pro-life movement? Tell us about him and what you see as his greatest contribution.
Well, viewers just learned an awful lot about him from that tiny little clip. My father's motto, which he learned from the Benedictine order, to which he belonged for 8 years. In fact, he was only a week away from his priestly ordination when he, in diaconate and then priestly ordination, when he realized this was not his call. He didn't find out for another about 10 years what his call would be, fighting for the lives of unborn children. But he deeply took into his soul the Benedictine motto of ora et labora, Latin for pray and work. And for my father, everything was always grounded in prayer, was always grounded in the love that he felt for unborn children, the tenderness he always had in his heart for children from a very young age. And then the labora part. And he was always asking his fellow pro-lifers to consider how is God asking me to pray about this issue, and how is God asking me to work? And I can guarantee you, from Joe Scheidler's many years and from my years of working with him at the Pro-Life Action League that he founded in 1980, the labora that God is calling us to is something each one of us has to discern. And I can promise you that it is not complaining about bishops not doing what they should, or waiting for somebody else to take action, or being angry about the media misportraying us. The labora, the work that God is calling each one of us to do, is direct and involves saving lives. He wanted us to be active outside the abortion facilities. And I couldn't help but reflect on that mission as he was dying, surrounded by family. He died in his own bed, surrounded by a loving family, hearing words of consolation. What a contrast that is to the 850 or 900,000 unborn children who die in abortion, totally and utterly abandoned, unless we're there. If we're there to mourn for them, as my father called us to do, then we are there doing an incredible act of mercy, saying no to the culture that has abandoned them and giving them the only act of love they'll ever receive this side of eternity. And that's really his legacy, is calling on us to love unborn children, to love their mothers, and to do everything we can to bring the loving, saving grace of Christ to them.
That's so beautiful. Eric, your father went from being a PR professional to a pro-life pioneer. Wasn't it truly the Roe v. Wade ruling that motivated him to create Pro-Life Action League with your mother and to develop sidewalk counseling?
That's right. He was at home sick with pneumonia, ironically enough. And he was a very healthy man. He very rarely took a sick day. And he was home when the Roe v. Wade ruling was handed down, and he couldn't believe what he was reading in the paper. He pored over those rulings. He called them a suicide note that America had written to itself, and that if we followed, we were going to see the end of respect for any human life in our culture. And what have we seen? We've seen the tearing apart of the family. We've seen increasing polarization. We've seen dehumanizing of our fellow citizens. And all of this flows from that same culture behind that ruling. And he knew he had to get involved. He knew he had to take action. And so he founded the Pro-Life Action League after several years working with different organizations, because he wanted to put regular people to work in the way that he saw Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. do. So incredible moment that he happened to pass on the day we were remembering Martin Luther King. He had marched with King in 1965 when he was a teacher at Mundelein College in Chicago. He had seen what can happen when people take personal responsibility for redressing an injustice in their culture. And that's what the Pro-Life Action League is about. That's what Joe Scheidler was all about. And as much as we miss him, it is a tremendous honor to be able to carry on his legacy and share his story with another generation.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. And I only have about a minute left, Eric, but I just want to mention your father had a case that went to the Supreme Court 3 times, and he finally won unanimously. I know it was a case that dragged on for decades. Can you give just a quick little snapshot into the significance of that case for the pro-life movement?
Sure. Well, Joe Scheidler's being mourned by a vast and loving family, by a huge pro-life community, but he also should be mourned by the entire country and thanked for what he did to preserve our right to assemble, to organize, to perform, direct action and protest. The Supreme Court could see the danger of using laws like the racketeering law that was used against him against a social justice cause. And so his case, Now versus Scheidler, the longest running case in U.S. federal court history, established a basis of freedom that generations of Americans will be benefiting from going into the future. So he truly is not only a great Catholic and a great pro-lifer, but a great American who did something extremely important for his nation.
Absolutely. And Eric, I had the greatest honor to interview your father about 3.5 years ago now. It's one of my greatest joys here at EWTN Pro-Life Weekly. So Eric, God bless you. We're continuing to pray for you and your family.
Thank you so much. And keep those prayers coming for my dad and the whole pro-life movement.
Absolutely.